Hey everybody, you may not know who I am. I am Mr. Nelson. I do communications and marketing and Camp CBA for the school. I wanted to provide a resource for you all, just interviewing both principals to share some of the questions that we are receiving from parents about digital learning. So I am here with Mr. Rasmussen, and I'm going to ask him a few questions that you all have voiced to learn more about what digital learning will look like for the upper school. So we're going to jump right in with the first question. One question parents are asking is they want to know, is this new digital learning going to be just watching like videoed lectures, or is it going to be live and interactive?
Hey, Stephen, thank you so much for doing this interview. And before I get going into answering your questions, I just want to say to our families and to students, um, we are in unprecedented times. This has really been an adventure for all of us. I think this is, with unprecedented times comes a challenge, but it also provides us with great opportunities. And so we are excited about delivering some opportunities or delivering on some of those opportunities that this situation has provided for us. We've been working really hard to be creative and to find solutions. And just like what we ask our students to do on a daily basis, this is really about problem solving, really about collaborating and thinking critically about the things that we are faced with. So really, it's a very missional moment for our school. And I really appreciate the opportunity to interact with you as families to help ease your mind and help really motivate you and get you excited about some of the cool things that we have coming up. So thanks for that. Getting right into the answers to the questions. Um, this will absolutely be interactive. We are using the Zoom platform, which is an interactive video platform. We expect that our teachers will be communicating directly with your students in live, in person, not all day long and not all day long every day, but they will be interacting with your students in a very genuine, very tangible way. Want to introduce a couple terms to you so you know as we go forward. I'm learning this too. Synchronous and asynchronous learning are terms that you're going to be hearing. Synchronous is learning that happens with a teacher and students together in a live platform. We'll be doing a lot of that. Asynchronous learning is when you have students learning, but the teacher is not live in that moment with them. So we'll be doing some of that as well.
Okay, great. I appreciate you providing some of that. With all of these education terms, they're really helpful, kind of shorthand for what we're talking about, and so I think that's really helpful to define that. The next question I have from parents is kind of how much support they're expected to provide for their student. A lot of parents are working from home, and they want to make sure they are on top of what the student needs and what the school is expecting from them. So kind of, can you share what you expect a parent to need in terms of like supervision and keeping them on schedule, that sort of thing?
Sure, and in full disclosure, I'm where a lot of you parents are. Kira, my wife, and I went from empty nesters to having our nest full of both of our college students that are back from their colleges, and so we are cramped and everybody in different spaces. We've set up office areas all over the house, so I know a lot about what it feels like to be back in the saddle. So for parents, really the way that we expect you to be supporting your student is really a couple different things that are practical around your home. Create learning spaces for your students that they can feel comfortable with. Do things like encourage daily routines. Encourage your students to take showers and keep brushing their teeth and doing all the things that they would do every day. Encourage them to get dressed for school. Don't roll out of bed and just show up at your Zoom session and click your computer on. Get prepared. We are not doing uniforms, but we are going to have dress, expectations. Preparing lunches and snacks and having water accessible to your students as they're going through the day. Those are just typical daily routines that I think are going to be important for parents to support. Technical challenges related to in-home internet access and the equipment that you have at your home that will allow the students to interact with our systems, which is basically internet access. So they're going to need your support with those kinds of technical questions on how to get connected to the internet. Gathering supplies for projects. We anticipate that we will be doing project-based learning, and we don't anticipate that the supply collection will be too tremendous. We're keeping that to a limited amount, but you're going to help them in gathering those supplies just like you would in a normal setting. And then typically when you would support your students doing homework, we'll do the same thing. If they've got a question about something that they're working on, I'm sure you as parents are going to want to be engaged in that process. We do not expect parents to join the Zoom sessions. We do not expect parents to watch all of the Zoom sessions, and we definitely do not expect you to be doing any instruction of your students.
I think that's going to be encouraging to hear for a lot of parents who, they're wondering, are they now, homeschool teachers? So I think that's great to hear. And the next question we've received is parents are kind of wondering, how long is this going to last? How long are we preparing for? What information are we receiving right now to help them?
We have decided that if we could get into the crystal ball market, this would be a great time. I think we would all do well. But since we haven't gotten into that market, what we are saying to families is we are going to maintain digital learning until it is safe to be back on campus. And right now, Governor of Tennessee has told schools that we will be closed through April 24th at the minimum. So we will be doing digital delivery at least through April 24th. And as long as we need to keep students and families safe in this crisis.
Okay, that makes sense. As parents are trying to coordinate kind of their schedule, and they may not know it, but our teachers, when we're on break, our teachers are away and they're getting a break too. They're wanting to know, when will they receive communication from teachers or the administration as far as these training days that we have announced, so that they can kind of plan that into their schedule.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think one of the things that I will say about that is the family training days on the first, second, and third. Um, the expectation there is not that you and your students will be in front of computers doing family training all day long. Really, the expectation for those days is that we will provide some structured experiences for you as a family to be able to practice getting onto Zoom, accessing the information that we have, the different forms of technology that we're going to use. But they in no way will be all day experiences. So we are looking, we will be together as a faculty on March 30th and 31st. And we will be getting lots of parent or faculty input on that schedule. And I imagine that schedule will go out early next week. But I do need you to be prepared as families to not be overwhelmed by the first, second, and third. If anything, what we really want is for teachers and students to practice getting together virtually, and we will have a few structured experience for family members to be able to access that as well. So I think you'll know a lot more as we finalize that schedule.
Okay. And then once we make it through training days, beginning April 6th, we'll have classes, and parents kind of want to know, like, hey, what does a school day look like in this new platform?
Yeah, that's great. I think for the purposes of this question, there are two different daily schedules in mind. One of them is the middle school schedule, and one of them is the high school schedule. And so we have put together a separate schedule for the middle school and a separate schedule for the high school. I will tell you, our intention in designing the amended schedule was really to keep in mind a couple things. One was to keep it kind of as normal as we could. In the sense that students are used to going to class at a particular time. And so we were able to capitalize on a lot of those things in the schedules. We also share a lot of faculty between middle school and high school. And so we needed to make sure that faculty could be available as well as students in their schedules in regard to their specific classes. We have a schedule basically that for both middle school and high school will include between 4.5 and 5 hours of, as an average, structured activities every day. Again, that could be synchronous time with teachers, and it could be asynchronous time where students are connected to a class, but they're working independently. What we're planning on doing is having a system of check-ins where students will be expected to check in to class every day. We will be taking attendance. And so each time they get a Zoom request, they will enter that class. Teachers will take attendance. But in terms of the actual daily schedule, we actually have that in a printable format that I'm going to attach to this, not to the recording, but to the email that goes out in this recording. So look at that schedule. You will get a chance to look over how the middle school schedule is going to work, as well as the high school schedule is going to work.
Okay, great. That'll be great to include. Um, and then the next question I have is, the reason people choose CBA is because of the way we educate and the way learning happens. I think there's some skepticism, or at least just some curiosity about how will this new delivery method of learning reflect our model.
I think that's a great point, a great question. I think that's something we're very excited about, because when I look at the way that we've already established our school and some of the language and vocabulary that we use, a lot of it is going to continue right on into digital learning. Like I said, problem solving, collaborating, critical thinking, that's our mission. We believe that we're going to continue to be able to execute on all three of those areas. A couple really fun things. We've been doing a lot of brainstorming on how to do movement activities, how to get students up, away from their computers, go on scavenger hunts, come back and bring things to their classmates. We are still going to be using agendas. We're going to still be using our thematic instruction. We will be continuing to push out standards and rubrics so the students know exactly what's expected of them. We are going to be continuing with our mentoring groups, the Bobcat Buddy groups. So students will still have those connections. That's in the schedule. At the high school level, we'll continue to do advisory. So once a week, students and their advisor will be able to check in and just review different questions that are coming up in digital delivery. Problem and project-based learning. We still believe that we can have a really good access with the digital platform that we're going to use to continue problem and project-based learning. We will have small group collaboration. Zoom is a really neat tool, and we can set students in groups, and they can pair share, they can group share, they can problem solve and collaborate, and then they can come back to the whole group and present their ideas. We will be doing things like digital presentations. We will continue to have integrated projects between different core and related arts content areas. So in many ways, I think we're going to be able to continue to use a lot of the brain-based strategies that we have used in the traditional classroom through our digital platform.
That's great to hear. I know that takes a lot of creativity to do that, and I am encouraged because I know that our faculty is definitely up for the challenge. The last question I have is just, I think, kind of reflects how parents love the CBA community that we have, the things that we do that gather everybody together, and the things we do for fun. Can you comment at all on what you expect school community to look like in this new platform?
I had the chance to be in a group session the other day with SAIS, which is our accrediting organization, principals from all over the country who are working through these things. And there's been so many fun, different creative ways to engage students and families. We're really excited about some of those. I think some of the things that we do in our community, things like family gathering, we are currently brainstorming on how we can continue delivering family gathering. There are some limitations around that we don't have figured out quite yet, but we want to continue forward with some form of family gathering. I will say at the high school level, our student council is going to still be in session. They will be pushing out, they do things like, movie nights and trivia, and all of those things will continue. I think our clubs will still have opportunities to meet at the high school level. Council houses and advisories will continue. Council house activities at the middle school are going to continue we're going to continue to see that council house pride, as well as student activities like movie nights. And we've heard brainstorming activities around coffee house nights where students all get to, someone can share a song or a poem or do a reading. Ongoing student activities will happen, evening movie nights. There's some really cool ideas about how to have everybody on a Zoom doing a movie night. I think morning announcements done by students. Right now, we do morning announcements for middle school and high school. Those kind of things will happen. I think overall having fun. I've heard things from anything from awkward lunch moments to mask singing competitions by faculty members. So I don't know all of those things that will happen, but I think for us to regain our sense of community through some of these fun digital experiences, just being goofy, having fun, remembering that kids teach us adults a lot about how to de-stress. So letting the kids show us and lead us in some of their ways, I think that's going to be really exciting.
Those are great ideas. That sounds really fun. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are swapping ideas like that, and I am excited to see what our students come up with. I forgot that I have one more question that kind of applies specifically more for upper school. When a student wants to ask like maybe a more private question to a teacher, are we going to have a way for them to do that? Because it sounds like a lot of this is going to be kind of public among a classroom, kind of in a Zoom chat. And so parents were just wondering, how did they ask a private question, like raising a standard or something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple ways. Actually, within Zoom, there are a couple ways to have students share anonymous questions through chat. And so that's something that students will be able to have private questions to teachers while they're actually in class. But in terms of coming back to that teacher and doing makeup standards, or even just asking for tutoring questions, every single teacher will have office hours, and those will be posted for students to be able to join a session. And so really it's like a virtual office hour setting. And so we will have those office hours posted for families to be able to see and for students to be able to see, so they can go in and just ask individual questions with their teachers.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, those are all the questions that we have time for today. There were more questions that parents asked, kind of getting into more specific detail with different classes and kind of just how some of these mechanics will work, like logging in and things like that, that we hope to cover most, if not all of those, kind of in the parent training days. But that's all we have time for today. I hope this has been helpful for you to kind of get more of a sense of what school will look like here come April 6th, and at least have some of your questions answered for now. Is there anything you'd like to add, Brad?
I just want to say we are truly trailblazers, and don't forget that that's who we are as the CBA family moves from Bobcats at the lower school to Trailblazers in the upper school. And I think true to our name, we are blazing amazing trails. I appreciate the families and the students being with us. We as faculty, staff, administration are super excited to join you. I wouldn't want to do this with any other groups of families. So thank you for your support. Continue to ask good questions, and we will blaze this trail together.